Good morning. I am delighted as UNIFE General Director to welcome all 1,400 of you to the launch of the new IRIS Rules Revision 4. Under UNIFE's management, we have achieved a full ISO status and have truly made IRIS global. The new global standard for quality management systems in the railway sector, titled 22-163/2023 Railways Application, was published by ISO on the 25th of July 2023. The process has been years in the making through a lot of hard work of rail experts across the industry on a worldwide basis, some of whom are present during today's event, and I would like to thank them for their endeavors. With the new IRIS Rules Revision 4, our aim is to continue to raise quality at the global level. You can expect consolidated and simplified certification rules in the new revision. Businesses like distributors and suppliers involved in turnkey operations who were not eligible in Revision 3 can now apply for certification. As always, UNIFE guarantees transparency and confidentiality for all parties while ensuring a smooth transition into the new certification rules. The implementation of Revision 4 will start in 2024. Our IRIS team in UNIFE has implemented an advanced web-based audit tool for auditors and applicants while expanding the IRIS unit to accommodate the extra workload and inquiries. And we can see that the number of certificates and registration on the IRIS portal have increased significantly. Even though I am not unfortunately able to be with you during this special event, I would like to thank the speakers and you for taking the time and joining us today. And of course, the IRIS team and myself remain at your disposal. I wish you a fruitful event, and I welcome Stefan Ziegler as IRIS Steering Committee Chairman to start the meeting.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Philippe, for this introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our IRIS Revision 4 launch event. Very happy to open the session with various interesting speakers and topics to introduce you to all the new developments. Next slide, please. And I would really like to invite you with IRIS Revision 4 to start harvesting the fruits of our long-time work, which we had altogether done, increasing product quality in the rail sector based on IRIS certification. And with the IRIS Revision 4, we were listening to the sector, asking for feedback, and also collecting all these improvement topics, bringing everything together that we now can say we have the best IRIS revision ever, and really can focus on, from now on, start harvesting the fruits of what IRIS is offering as benefits. And let me a little bit elaborate on this. What do I mean with harvesting of the fruits? You might remember that last week we had the Railway Forum in Berlin, and some of you might even have participated either in the workshops or in the speeches or in the expo. And we got clear messages from operators like DB, SBB, SNCB that they will definitely reduce the effort for supplier qualification either by 50% or for even 100%. Based on the quality performance level, which is a very clear signal. For our industry as well. The performance of the IRIS certified suppliers. This is an experience we can do for, let's say, for our Siemens side. We can see that based on KPIs, our certified suppliers, according to IRIS certification, perform better than others, which is, I guess, the same case for other system integrators or equipment manufacturers, which can also see these advantages. We have easier access for small companies. Philippe mentioned it already. Synergies for big companies, for example, with the guiding function. Explicitly, we have restructured and simplified the rules, and also added product scopes into the new rule set. We have now the situation after that we achieved for the last version an ISO technical standard. We have now a real ISO. An European standard EN is in preparation, and we will be able to achieve further synergies with other schemes, for example, like the entity in charge of maintenance for maintenance companies, which will be on the outlook as well. Bronze will be our first premium level for quality performance levels. So quality performance levels we can really see as an honoring of the performance, of the quality performance of the certified companies, where IRIS is the only certification scheme which offer these benefits for higher transparency on the customer side about the quality performance of the supply chain. The web-based audit tool was improved. Anish will present it later in all the details, and I would like to invite you to really discover and even create further benefits in the discussion about quality in rail with IRIS certification to start the dialogue, and really have a look on how we can together improve quality in rail and harvesting the fruits. I'd like to point out as well that IRIS Revision 4 is composed not only of IRIS 22163, but also the Performance Assessment Rules 2023 issued by UNIFE. Both together make it up to IRIS certification. So not one single piece, but all these ones together. And then let us continuously improve IRIS furthermore in the details, whereas we have now reached a status where we can say it's a certain state of ready. Next slide, please. Maybe having a little bit the look, where do we come from and why do we can say now we are to a certain point of ready. We were coming, or the basic idea why IRIS was started and was to improve the lacking product quality. So we had complaints as industry from the operator side that the product quality of the industry in the rail sector is lacking, and at that point of time, so even before 2006, there were discussions ongoing, how do we tackle this issue? And the reasoning was, or the outcome as a measure was, to create IRIS as a specific standard for the rail sector. So this first revision was launched in 2006. And up to then further developed, and we were always having a look and having in mind and looking on the question, do we really achieve an improvement of product quality based on the better managed processes? So obviously IRIS certification can never be a quality assurance, a quality checking standard for product quality directly. This is not what was intended, and for the wide variety of products in the rail sector also not possible, but improving processes, having process performance in that way that at the end product quality is increasing, This was always the aim, with incorporating this performance topic, incorporating quality performance levels. Already this revision 3 in 2017, we did a big step forward, and now can already see first indicators showing that this intention is possible to be achieved by IRIS revision 4, incorporating further benefits, further feedbacks from the industry, and like this, to say for a certain point we achieved a very high maturity level, even not be having achieved our goals. What is the further outlook? Of course, we continue working further on the trusted certificates and trust in certificates. Trusted certificates are the baseline for reducing further the audit effort, because parties will only refrain from doing own audits if they trust the third-party audits. We will continue the quality dialogue and motivate to take up the quality dialogue, who has not done so far, in between customer and supplier. And the way how to do this, we can say IRIS is the IRIS methodology is our quality API, which we can use here. So as we all talk about digitalization now, it's the APIs we're talking about. Former times was the interface, but really looking what methodology IRIS delivers to talk about quality, to exchange about KPIs, to exchange about quality performance. This is really the thing we should intensify with all together, making use of IRIS methodology to enhance product quality in the rail sector. And this also leads to the fact, keeping in mind that IRIS certification on the one hand side is a certification, but the certification is based on a methodology to be implemented in the companies. And this is a kind of high performance toolbox, and you're really invited to make use of it. We can also use the quality performance levels to show it proactively to our customer, our performance medals. And strive for further synergies. As said, we are, as UNIFE working group, in close contact with the ERA to work on synergies with ECM, which hopefully leads up to a reduction in audit effort, significant reduction in audit effort for ECM certified companies. And yeah, having standards in place, having guidelines in place, which can be seen as a kind of acceptable means of compliance, accepted by the railway sector in total, by the industry as well by the operators, so that you can use these guidelines and the methodologies given in the guidelines for a common exchange, for a common standard, for example, for first article inspection, for risk management, for project management, and so on. And yeah, really being invited to use this as common basis, and much more really being invited to explore what benefits we can as well explore with IRIS methodology and IRIS certification. Next slide, please. Yeah, and of course, I think it has to be said also, to harvest the fruits, to come back where I started, we still have to climb the ladder and take actions. We are unfortunately not yet in paradise for leaning back and waiting that the fruits are falling in the open mouth. Still, only performance, quality performance, delivery performance is honored based on the certification we offer here. And we can still keep in mind that IRIS Revision 4 provides a toolset for performance and harvesting. And this is the invitation today. Let's harvest the fruits together. Thank you very much. And now I will hand over to Werner Kaufmann, IRIS General Manager, who will give us a more detailed overview on the new system and all parts of it. Thank you very much. Werner, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Dear IRIS stakeholders, thank you very much for the introduction, Stefan. Next slide, please. So we will now start with the revision 4 inputs and what I think you all need to know and want to know today. First topic will be the ISO part. As Stefan said, we have now, and Philippe as well, we have now a full ISO 22163, which was published on the 25th of July this year. Just very briefly to show you that that's not a work which was done by chance and so on. There were more than 50 worldwide experts committed and registered in the working group involving 17 countries. So it was a large discussion and we started our work in 2018. So this means quite a lot of time. I must admit that the pandemic period slowed down a little bit our work, but finally we made it, and we started with 400 real deep topics to discuss, and we went through all that. As you may see as well, both ballots which were launched in this period of time, as well for the draft, for the final draft, we got 2 times 100% of positive vote from all members, which is something which is not happening every time for all standards which ISO is publishing. We got several comments in each stage of the ballot, and as you see, a large majority of those comments were accepted and were implemented in the next stage. Finally, I mean, after 28 meetings, we could find a total consensus, which is also the ISO mode of working. This means nothing can be imposed. Everything must have a full consensus among all the experts and all the members. And that's the task of the convener, to reach this consensus in order to get this standard. This shows you also why sometimes it takes some time. Last but not least, the working group finalized as well a so-called white paper, which is accessible on the ISO website under the 269, the Railway Committee part, and where we highlight the importance of the application of the ISO 22163. Next slide, please. About the evolution, and I will really insist on the word evolution, the ISO 22163 is not a revolution compared to the ISO TS. And you can see in terms of new elements, in terms of requirement, the most new point is the additional process. This is now a 23rd process based on safety. You know how safety is important in the railway sector, and there was a large consensus on that topic very quickly, that we need to enhance a safety process in the clause 883 RAMS LCC. Other aspects are linked to, I would say, state-of-art evolutions, like social responsibility, where a clause 412 has been created, or also to specify more precisely some very important aspects. Example, project review, which was extracted from different parts of the existing requirements, revised and assigned in a new subclause 81311. The same for the design verification and validation test requirement, which were a little bit distributed in several aspects, and today there is a dedicated, a very clear new subclause 8345, which will exactly give these requirements to have the point clearly taken. The real new also aspect we have achieved is to create this notion of performance indicator. I think all of you know that since 2017 and even a little bit before, in the previous ARIS revision, we always had the sense of the KPIs, the key performance indicators. And moreover, in the revision 3 with the ISO TS, the KPIs were used in the performance assessment for the companies by the auditors. But we had the experience that the KPIs were not used at the right level always in all the organizations, because too many KPIs were defined, and it was therefore very difficult to measure really the performance for the organization, but also for the auditors. Therefore, we have now divided this in performance indicators, which are there to measure the performance of the processes, of the activity, whatever, which is necessary at the operational level in the organizations, and then to only specify the KPIs for the management, the general management, who will use the KPI to drive the business and to measure how the rail quality management system is applied in the organization and is bringing the added value for the organization. So that's this huge evolution, which in fact in the organization will not have a big impact, because it does not mean that you have to recreate all your measurements just to say what is a normal PI, process indicator or performance indicator, or what is a KPI where my management will be very attentive on, and where I have absolutely also to see how my organization is improving, and which I also will give to my auditor to manage the performance. Other new aspects are the annexes, a list of processes, mandatory processes, recommended processes, which will be very helpful, I think, for the organization and to see what is, in a nutshell, absolutely necessary. We also had a very interesting part in the second annex, which is a concept of requirement, because you know that these requirements also are sometimes a little bit difficult to understand, and that's complementary to the revision of all the definition, where we spend quite a lot of time to be absolutely in line with the state of art, the experience, and what is needed for the companies today. Last but not least, as well, giving more indications on the performance indicators, especially because of this notion of performance indicators and key performance indicators. And I must admit that here the Working Group 5 from ISO has taken very much into account the KPI guideline published at the ARIS and the RQB portal. And that means as well that in a very near future, we will have to update our guidelines to bring new ideas, because of course the guideline now is or has become a much more official part in a standard as an annex, or sometimes also in the requirement itself. Next slide, please. Another set of evolutions are linked to the existing requirements. As already mentioned, the rail definitions were extended and corrected or aligned with existing definition in other ISO standard, EN standard sometimes, or worldwide use standard, or just based on the state of art or the commonly understanding in the railway sector. As mentioned already, the specific product safety requirement existing in the ISO TS are now encapsulated globally with in a quality requirement, and as mentioned previously, we have also today a safety process, which together is, of course, also totally aligned. The configuration management and change control were merged in one clause, because they are, as you know in your organization, very linked. When there is a change coming from a customer in the design phase, of course, this has generally an impact on the configuration. Therefore, you have two different sub-clauses, but in one clause today. And of course, this was clearly aligned together in this way. About competence also, we have seen, and there were a lot of remarks among all the experts worldwide, that there were some double, triple requirement linked to competence in several clauses or chapters. And this we have thoroughly analyzed, and we have now enhance the competence clause, which is the 721. This clause is now, of course, applicable to all other aspects of the standard. Are we speaking from the operational clauses, 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and so on, where, of course, the competence is requested at each level. So no need to repeat always the same 721 clause is applicable in terms of competence of all the actions, all the processes, all the activities in your organization. In terms of documented information, here as well, we have standardized the way of using this wording, because ISO 9001 is absolutely clear in the clause 442, where what is the documented information when it has to be used. So therefore, you will not find anymore sometimes the documented process, sometimes the documented information somewhere else. It's very clearly expressed through the global ISO 22163. Is it linked to the ISO 9001 specific requirement or to the rail specific requirement? The performance indicator were revised as generally based on the experience used by coming from the auditors, coming from experts in the rail sector, from the company itself, to be able to have the right KPIs requested or recommended linked to the current situation in the railway sector in 2023. The business planning was moved in organization and its context for 1.1, where it is much more accurate to put it in terms of responsibility of the organization when they set up the full rail quality management system. As well, innovation management was moved on a place where it's more linked to the decision, the strategical decision for a company to innovate or not, which also, you will see later on, has an impact on what you do in the design phase, what you do in the project management phase. Last but not least, I would focus on the process review, which was restructured. You know that this was a total new requirement in 2017 in the ISO TS. And now we have, after our experience, restructured it and focus it much more on the performance assessment, which is, we believe, an absolute necessary aspect in each organization to manage this. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, I would say that we believe that there are limited evolution, especially for currently certified companies, because we have mainly taken into account the state of art, and I believe that all organizations active in the rail sector have done the same. We have taken into account the return of experience in the companies, but also from the audits, from the auditors. We had a global, very good understanding among the group, even when we had always a lot of expert, worldwide expert, and finding a consensus, I agree, was not always simple, but we achieved it. And also to have in this new standard, in this full ISO standard, a global approach. You can see on the table that, of course, we have not touched the ISO 9001 requirements. That was not the purpose of the working group 5. We have in total 25 evolutions in the rail specific requirement, and there are today now 340 requirements of in the ISO 22163. This means less than 8% of evolution. So that's absolutely manageable in the future, in the very near future, in terms of requirement. I clearly insist on that. This means in the requirement, in the mandatory requirement of the ISO 22163. So now I would like to give the floor to my next speakers, and first to Louise Nietzsche from Siemens Mobility, which will give you first insight on the evolution in the performance assessment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Werner. So hello from my side as well. My name is Louise Nietzsche, and I'm a Quality Systems Manager at Siemens Mobility. I was part of the IRQB working group, which developed the new IRIS performance assessment. This working group had members of all stakeholder groups, equipment manufacturers, system integrators, operators, and auditors. Today, I would like to give you a short overview of the main changes together with Jessica, and on my next slide, we can have a more detailed look. So the target of the IRQB working group was to improve the applicability, reduce complexity, and adapting the rules to the current conditions. On this slide, I summarized the main changes from my point of view and I clustered it into 4 topics: the certification setup of an organization, simplification and applicability, the assessment methodology, and the quality performance level. There are updates regarding the certification setup of an organization with new certification activities, business categories, product scopes, and supporting functions. Further, there are now simplifications for small and medium enterprises and the alignment of project management to the business type of an organization. The assessment methodology changed by new basic items, KO items, and a new customer perception assessment. And in the end, there are updates regarding the quality performance level to create more transparency in the rail sector. I will explain the first 2 topics, and Jessica will continue with topic number 3 and 4. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So maybe you can remember the actual certification activities are design and development, manufacturing, and maintenance. So now the 5 mandatory key processes have become the new certification activities in revision 4. Therefore, we have 3 new ones: requirements management, project management, and EPPPS. At least 3 out of 5 certification activities have to be applicable, where requirements management and project management are always applicable. Now you don't have to be afraid because of project management. I will explain later in my presentation that this will be aligned to your business type. On the other hand, we have new business categories. Until now, there are only the business types rolling stock, signaling, and infrastructure. There have been organizations which could not be certified according to the current rules, but they wanted to be certified, and it totally makes sense that those organizations are certified. And therefore, the certification, the business categories have been aligned, and maintenance has become a business category now, and we have 3 additional ones with distributors, turnkey, which are project organizations, and testing and tools. Testing and tools can be, for example, organizations which develop or produce test equipment for the rail sector. From my point of view, organizations have now more flexibility to define their certification setup by this changed certification activities and business categories. All those information will be part of the new IRIS certificate and will be visible in the portal as well. So can we go please to my next slide? Now I would like to introduce the product scopes. Here you can see a product scope tree, which is aligned with the new business categories. All 20 product scopes of IRIS Revision 3 have been included into 9 product scope families. Therefore, the product scope integration includes all others. The former product scope 17, rolling stock, is now railway vehicle and contains the product scope system, mechanical, electrical, and guidance. And all those contain the product scope components, which is the former product scope 19. For each product scope, you can see some examples. On the other side, you can see the railway network with the product scope electronical. A complete product scope list will be in the IRIS portal for download. As you already probably know, the product scope of an organization has to be covered by the auditor. That means the lead auditor has to have the product scope of the organization to ensure a proper audit quality. So on my next slide, I would like to introduce the new supporting functions. In the very beginning, IRIS certification was only a site-specific certification. And since the setup of organizations changed over time, a remote location and a site extension were added. During the last years, organizations changed even more, and people belonging to a team are not always located at a single site anymore. This changed a lot during and after the pandemic. People can work remote in administrative processes. Therefore, a remote location is now a remote function. That means a remote function has a single address, but people belonging to this remote function do not all have to be located at the single site. A remote function can be located at several remote locations. For example, the quality management team where I belong to, we have team members in Berlin, Erlangen, and Munich. Our team could be a remote function, for example. We still have a, yes, thank you. We still have a site extension like in revision 3, which is another location where production and maintenance activities are performed, and this is connected with a certified site. And we have a brand new supporting function, which is the guiding function. As I already said, IRIS certification was a site-specific certification, and only production, maintenance, or design and development sites could be certified. Especially the headquarters could only be linked as a remote location to the certified sites. But usually the headquarters define the rules and manage common processes and PIs of an organization. Due to that, a guiding function was created for IRIS certification. The guiding function is especially for larger organizations with more than 2 locations and is a group of processes that drive remotely several sites. From now on, a guiding function can either be certified with at least 2 certification activities or can be linked to a certified site like a remote function. All supporting functions have to be audited annually in line with the certified sites. So now we can go on the next slide and look at my example. So in this example, you can see a schematic certification setup of an organization. We have 3 certified sites in Barcelona, Shanghai, and Vienna. All of them have an autonomous rail quality management system. The headquarters is in Berlin, certified as a guiding function, and defined for all the sites a common rail quality management system. Part of the guiding function is, in this example, the requirements management, project management, design and development, HR, and the corporate quality management team. The 30 certified sites are mainly responsible for production and all related processes. Vienna has, in this example, a remote function for accounting and a site extension for painting. In general, I have to say that organizations are a lot more flexible now. The adoption of the certification activities, business categories, and supporting functions offer organizations to define the certification setup according to their structure of the organization. Further, remote functions and guiding functions can be audited remote or semi-remote, which really simplifies the audit process. On my next slide, I would like to explain more simplifications for organizations. So here we start with IRIS simplified for small and medium enterprises. With IRIS revision 4, it will be possible for organizations with less than 85 people and less than 25 million euro turnover to become IRIS Simplified certified. There will be less documentation and administrative requirements. For example, the process ownership and process review are mandatory for the maximum 5 key processes. There will be a simplified maturity level in the assessment sheet, adapted to small and medium enterprises. Every rail supplemental item has been evaluated by an expert team within the IRQB working group, and this has already been tested in a trial audit of a very small organization. This IRIS Simplified was created exclusively for small and medium enterprises to ease the entry into IRIS certification. A simplified IRIS certificate will be issued without a QPL. And on my last slide, I would like to explain the project management approach. So in IRIS revision 3, project management was mandatory. Because not every organization which is IRIS certified is in project business, a guideline has been developed with first solution proposals. In revision 4, project management is still mandatory, but it can be adapted to the business model of an organization. Therefore, the Note 1 of ISO 22163 in Chapter 8.1.3.1.1 has been updated, and the proposal of the project management guideline has been included in the new IRIS performance assessment. So every organization now has to define their business type with the provided decision tree in the IRIS performance assessment. The most complex business type or project management type is A. This is a traditional project management and can be called engineer to order. Make to stop, project management type C, is a typical product business, and organizations usually have to have an order fulfillment process. The production is completely independent from individual customer requirements. And project management type B is make to order and is a simplified project management. So the project management type has to be defined by the organization and evaluated by the auditor. To simplify the assessment during the audit, the assessment sheet will be adapted to the PM type automatically by the audit tool. And now I would like to hand over to Jessica to continue with the other changes.
Thank you, Luis, and thank you to the audience for joining. Welcome again. I am Jessica Seijo, Quality System Manager at CAFMIRA, and since September 2022, I have joined UNIFE to contribute to the development of IRIS. In this part, we will address topics as quality performance level, assessment items, maturity levels, evolution in assessment sheet, KO items, and quality performance, customer performance, sorry. Let's start with quality performance levels. Depending on the results of enabled process performance and customer perception, the audited organization is eligible for the different kinds of QPLs. Now, the 4 levels are IRIS certified, bronze, silver, and gold. The QPL is issued every year by UNIFE, INC. INC is acronym of IRIS Management Center, and is published in the IRIS portal. Starting at the bottom, IRIS certified. To reach certified IRIS, company needs to reach the threshold. It means defined level in all applicable requirements. Compared to the other QPLs, this level is automatically issued and published in the IRIS portal. Bronze, as Stefan explained, bronze is the first premium level. To reach bronze, you need to reach the percent show above for enable and process performance. This requirement is new, and in this case, the audit reports are randomly checked by UNIFE. Silver. To reach silver, you need to reach the percent shown above for enable customer perception and process performance. Percent more challenging than Rev 3. Make sure that the data package is provided on time, as you know, 60 days before the audit, and the audit report are all checked and released by INC, and the QPL is then published in the IRIS portal. Gold. To reach gold level, you need to reach the percent show above of enable, customer perception, and process performance. No change here, but the audit reports are all checked and released by INC, and in Red 4, the performance and trends during the audit cycle will be considered. The IRQB Gold Committee decides if gold level is reached. Please, next slide. What is the current status? Improving quality performance in the rail sector is the title of the slide. Currently, around 2,300 500 companies are already certified worldwide. On the left, the silver evolution graph shows that there are 12% of silver certificates so far, following a good growth trend. The global distribution of the QPL is shown on the right. Currently, there are 6 companies that are already gold and 4 new candidates. These companies are waiting to be audited, and if the results met the requirements, also considering the result of the calibration audit to be carried out, they will be submitted to the Gold Committee for the final decision. It's good news. Next slide, please. Overview of assessment items. What are the differences between these items? Open item, please. Open item, please. Okay. An open item is a requirement from the rail-specific supplemental part of ISO 22163. Fulfillment of the requirement is scored with 2 points, 1.5 points when the simplified approach is applied. Not fulfillment can be scored as minor or major non-conformity, 1 or 0 points respectively. Exceeding the fulfillment of the requirement result in a higher scoring of the item in the assessment sheet, 3 or 4 points, and improvement action related to this item can be proposed, of course. Basic item. A basic item is a requirement from ISO 9001 that needs to be fulfilled within IRIS certification. Fulfillment of the requirements is scored with 2 points. Not fulfillment can be scored as minor or major non-conformity, 1 or 0, and improvement action related to this item can be proposed, agreed. Closed item. A closed item is a requirement from the rail specific supplemental part of ISO. Fulfillment of the requirement is scored with 2 points, and not fulfillment shall be scored as a major non-conformity. KO item. KO items are 10 selected closed items that are related to the key requirements in the railway sector. Their fulfillment is prerequisite to pass the readiness review, and they are assessed in every audit, as we will see in detail later. Okay, please, next slide. This table shows the number and percent of items that have changed in Rev 4, optimized and qualified. This improvement and evolution, as Bernard said, came from and are based on experience of companies, good practice, lesson learned that we have gathered. And of course, new requirements, taking into account the context of the sector and the new regulation and so on. Speaking very globally, the most relevant changes in qualified and optimized are located in chapters 8 and 9. Starting for chapter 8, 8.1 operational planning, 8.5 production and service, 8.8 reliability, availability and safety, and in chapter 9, 9.1 monitoring, measurement, analysis and evaluation, 9.2 internal audit, and 9.3 management review. This next slide. KO items and its main features are: KO items are main requirements in the rail sector with a special focus. KO requirements are scored yes or no. Fulfillment is considered as mandatory and as prerequisite for IRIS certification, especially in the readiness review. Some may be not applicable based on the certification activities. During a readiness review, all applicable KO items shall be fulfilled. If not, the readiness review is failed and has to be repeated. So, The first one is understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties, action to address risks and opportunities, competence, change control, requirements for products and service. All these key items are always applicable. Please, next slide. Classification of APPS, special process first article inspection, can be put as not applicable based on the certification activities of the organization. And finally, analysis and evaluation and process review, always applicable. Please, next slide. Please, click again, please. Yeah. Again. Okay, thank you. To assess the customer perception, the auditor will focus on two different elements: the 10 open customer focus questions from the assessment sheet and the 3 mandatory performance indicators related to the customer perception. Customer perception, customer on-time delivery, and non-conformities raised by the customer, even REF 3. For the performance indicator, their implementation and their performance will be assessed. The mini assessment sheet is no longer part of the assessment. Please, next slide. This slide shows the list of the 10 customer focus requirements selected from the enablers to assess of the customer perception. They cover topics like project management, change management, requirement management, traceability, customer concessions, and customer complaints. I guess many doubts or questions have arisen that we will have time to share later. And now it will be our colleague Anis Bawa who will introduce us to an essential part of IRIS certification, such as technology and tools. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jessica. My name is Anish Bawa, IRIS Technical Manager, working at UNIFE for 8 years now. And it's a real pleasure today for me to give you a taste, an insight into the latest, greatest IRIS certification technology. Just before we go into the details, let me please remind you what my colleague Tanvi just explained earlier. If you go on the bottom right-hand side of this slide, you can either use the QR code with your phone by scanning, or go to menti.com, enter the code 1350194 1350194 to answer some questions and provide us some inputs for the Q&A, the question and answer session that will take place at the end of this event. Thank you very much, and looking forward to explaining the next slide to you. So, one of the most important things in the IRIS certification technology is the IRIS audit tool. Today I'm going to present you some key facts about the latest updates. Please be sure to wait for the future, to get a deeper understanding and knowledge, insight into the latest updates. So we have currently gone from a downloadable hardware audit tool that you have to download and install now to an audit tool web-based application, meaning a website. This website, which will contain the IRIS audit tool, is a cross-platform website, which means you can access the audit tool through different platforms such as your iPhone, your smartphone, your Android phone, a tablet, any computer you want. And this will really give you the added value of having this cross-platform usability. What else does this give? It's very simple. It gives you the global availability, other features such as automatic saving, and really fostering a collaborative approach. And we will go into the details in a bit about that. The new audit tool web application will also give you all stakeholders the opportunity to use workflows, for example, when sending audit files to each other, when validating files, and so forth. We together at UNIFE are really striving towards technological advancement. We're out with the old-fashioned license name and license key and license formalities, and we are in with the new user credentials. So now what will be possible is very simply putting your username and password into this homepage that I'm just showing you now, and you'll be then able to enter the world of auditing. Don't be worried, we are also following the latest security advices and updating regularly within our system. To conclude about the web application, we will for sure allow only IRIS Revision 4 audits and internal audits in Revision 4 to be solely supported by this new audit tool. Just to show you now, on the left hand side, it's just proof that you can also use it on your mobile phone. So you will be able to do your internal audit, or if you are an auditor and certification body, you will be able to conduct your audit, for example, entering evidences on the shop floor, going on the train, filling in the rest of the report, and so on. The key word I would like to use for our new audit tool is connectivity, collaboration, and cross-platform availability. On the next slide, I will give you just a little bit of an insight on the IRIS portal. The IRIS portal is the backbone to the certification technology. The portal conveys and facilitates all audit documentation. As said earlier by my colleagues, we are currently in the means of a paradigm shift as we are implementing the most recent and next generation technology that we've ever used thus far in order to give all organizations, all stakeholders as well, including of certification bodies and auditors, the easiest, most streamlined tool possible. I can also confirm all information portrayed by my colleagues previously and to come in the rest of this webinar will all be facilitated and controlled by the IRIS portal. Whether it's the implementation of the new certification setup, i.e. the new certification activities, the new business categories, or whether it's the alignment of the assessment with the new SME functionality, whether it's selecting the respective project management approach within your organization. All elements, also including the new quality performance level topics that were explained previously, will all be facilitated, controlled, and managed by the IRIS certification technology, and most importantly, the IRIS portal. The IRIS portal will also cater to the sale of the Performance Assessment 2023 document that we're all happy to announce that have come to sale early this week. So please, after this webinar, we urge you to get a copy. And to do this, it's quite simple. You have to go to the IRIS portal and click Shop, Login, and purchase the document. Now let's summarize some of the points that we've included in the new Revision 4 technology system. In terms of audit time, we have removed the calculator, the old-fashioned calculator that we've had in the previous audit tool, and we have now shifted it towards the company master data. The company master data is now the most important aspect for organizations. I will go into further detail in a bit. As you also heard from my colleagues previously, we have significantly simplified the whole technological system. With Revision 4, we've harmonized multiple processes. For example, as I said earlier, we have transposed not only what we currently had in revision 3 to revision 4 in the tools, we've also taken time to review all processes in order to recreate them efficiently, effectively, and to create a streamlined approach for revision 4. We have, and I know a lot of you will be happy about this, we have removed the audit file, as everything will now be in the cloud. We will now no longer facilitate the sending of files, but now with workflows facilitate such processes. A lot of you will also be happy that we have reduced significantly the audit reports, and we now have a streamlined final report, which will consist not of 100+ pages, but now, after working groups have reviewed this significantly, we now have 8 pages in our IRIS report, showing organizations and all stakeholders the most important information. One other thing you may ask is that obviously the new audit tool will be a web-based tool, so this means that you need to have a valid internet connection. One thing we have thought about quite rigorously and in depth is what happens if there is no longer any internet, or if you know you're not going to have any internet. And we have also streamlined quite a few processes for this. But to keep it simple today, if you have suddenly no access to the internet whilst you are conducting an internal or a normal audit, we in the new tool will come up with a way that will automatically facilitate the work progress without the internet, and then once you reconnect to internet, it will automatically be synchronized. In terms of assessment, just to reiterate what my previous colleagues have said, we've improved and streamlined with the new audit tool the way of assessing the enablers. We found out easier ways to assess the assessment sheet items, to provide scorings with the maturity levels, and also more streamlined approach for inserting evidences. Also, as mentioned by Jessica, we have streamlined the assessment sheet, as we have removed the customer perception, the mini assessment sheets, and we have included those 10 questions within the enablers, so there's no longer a double assessment. We also come up with the word visibility when we're talking about this revision 4 technological system. We have for the certification body and for the auditor side of the stakeholders, we have removed the imposed IRIS audit plan and now propose a certification body specific audit plan. And of course, for the organizations and the wider public, we will now always show the IRIS certificate and the quality performance level statement document publicly within the portal. I repeat, we will always show the latest, meaning the most recent quality performance level statement and the latest valid certificate without user credentials on the IRIS portal. This will also increase the visibility within the industry. In terms of collaboration, as hinted earlier, when developing the new IRIS audit tool and updating the current portal, we really sat down and tried to think how we can foster the collaborative approach. So basically, the whole IRIS audit tool can be done within the whole audit appointed team at one time without versioning. And I know the auditors will be happy with also without merging. So that means organizations for their internal audits, audit teams within the certification bodies for the actual audits will be able to conduct the audits in real time together simultaneously in the new updated collaborative way. Now, that was a bit also about the specificities, but just to mention some things for the organizations. The Iris Audit Tool web application will also be available for companies for purchase, for sale in this coming quarter this year. We believe quite significantly that this new tool that has been updated for you is quintessential for you organizations to prepare your internal audits, to prepare your gap analysis when starting certification, to prepare for the revision for readiness review, for example, and of course, if you are already currently certified, to improve after the assessment, because why? We are always striving for continuous improvement. In the next slide, as mentioned earlier, I really want to stress for the organizations the fact that the company master data has now become your Bible. It's the most important aspect for you in the Iris portal. Why? Because it withholds so much information and it's become now more important than it ever was. Why? It's quite simple. As I explained, we have moved the minimum audit mandate calculation from the audit tool now to the Iris portal company master data. That means the information you provide as organizations inside the Iris portal in your profile, it's very important because these specificities will impact the audit that will come after that. So whether it be the information you provide in your employee count for the railway specific activities on site, this will have an impact on the timing of the audit. Whether, as my colleague said before, whether you specify you aim, and if you are eligible with this table, if you specify to become and to achieve a simplified Iris certification, then the audit tool will be applied per specification. And of course, last but not least, you will also have to specify what type of project management approach you have within your organization based on chapter 8.1.3, whether you are portraying engineering to order, you're making to order, or you're making to stock. So based on these designations, you will have to select in the Iris portal master data A, B, or C. And of course, this will have an automatic impact and effect on the Iris audit tool. As we have all of the stakeholders here, I want to really portray a point that is very important. At the end of this slide, you will see in bold, this information is to be obviously updated as soon as possible, as you know the information, but latest 90 days before the start of the audit, in order to surpass further difficulties. On the next slide, we want to introduce something new, more fostered towards the organizations. As specified in the new rules, for a strong data review, documents with the detailed information shall be uploaded in the Iris portal diary by the organization latest 60 calendar days in advance to the confirmed audit start. In a nutshell, this means you no longer have to send manually via email the data package to the lead auditor. The Iris portal will now facilitate this in a one-stop shop within the Iris portal. So in the Iris portal, when your organizations will log into the portal, you will soon have access to your diary. This will show you all the audits you have planned, who the auditor is, and what the timings are. In this diary, you'll be able to upload your document package. Once completed and confirmed, it will be sent, a notification will be sent, and then the certification body, especially the lead auditor, will have the possibility to view these files. Once the audit has been completed, these files will be automatically deleted from the system. Now, with this into account, don't forget you have now one less file to fill in, which was previously in revision 3 called the confirmation statement. Now we obviously are striving for a more simplified approach. In my last slide for today, I'm not going to read out all of these text boxes, but I wanted really to remind you, and you will see this in the rules, the 9 elements that you shall, as an organization, upload to the IRIS portal diary for the audit to take place, and in order for the audit to have a correct data review. Obviously, don't forget the last one is applicable only for achieving gold. So if you are not at this level yet, then you do not need to upload the direct customer feedback template. Thank you very much. Don't hesitate to send us questions whenever you want. And I'm very excited and glad to introduce my colleague, Miss Maria Romero, for her part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anish. And good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for watching us. And today I am Maria Romero. I am part of the IRIS Management Center within UNIFE for almost 5 years now. And I think in this presentation now, my colleagues, they gave an overview of what has changed from revision 3 to revision 4. But I would also like to give you an overview of who are our stakeholders, our trusted stakeholders. So I would like to talk about how IRIS is governed. So what is our structure, and also about our certification bodies, auditors, and companies, and in the end, the whole supply chain. So next slide, please. Thank you. So very briefly and very simple, I would like to give you an overview on how IRIS certification works. So, you know, IRIS certification has been created by UNIFE, the European Railway Industry Association, where the IRIS Management Center is part, in 2005, as Stefan was showing before. And now here today, in 2023, we are launching revision 4. So a lot has happened. So within UNIFE, we have the IRIS Steering Committee. And the IRIS Steering Committee is built up or composed by many UNIFE members. I would like to name all of them and thank all of them also for driving quality in the rail sector. Today we have some representative of Siemens, but we also have in our STICO committee, Alstom, CAF also, which is represented today, Boyd, Connor Bremse, Feble, GHH Bonatrans, Harting, Talgo, Hitachi, and Schaeffler. And the IRIS certification steering committee is entitled to align on the technical requirements and also on all criteria of the certification process. It can also decide on the certification bodies that we are going to work with or not, set up different working groups to work in the technical aspects and in the developments of IRIS, and decide on which associations and other entities we are going to cooperate with in order to develop the certification. In this context, UNIFE and the IRIS Steering Committee has entrusted IMC, the IRIS Management Center, or the IRIS unit, as to, in the end, operate daily the IRIS certification, administrate the IRIS technology, as Anish was explaining before, promote the system, and also liaise with certification bodies and auditor, and train them and give them all the support, as well as supervising and participating in the different IRIS certification working groups. As you can see on the right side of this slide, in 2018, the International Rail Quality Board was created. Today, this is coordinated by UNIFE. It's formed or composed by the IRIS STICO committee members, or members of UNIFE, but also of other international industrial players and operators. And I will also like to name them and to thank them because they are driving quality and helping us deploying IRIS Revision 4. And they are SNCV, SNCF, SPV, NetTrains, Deutsche Bahn, Metro de Madrid, Metro de Barcelona, Year 8, Mitsubishi, and SKF. Their target is to contribute to enhance the attractiveness and the competitiveness of the rail sector globally, trying to have a better product quality, and specifically and more important to us, support, develop, and implement IRIS certification through the whole supply chain. And with this International Air Quality Board, we ensure the independency of the scheme. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So, another very important stakeholder for IRIS certification are our 17 approved certification bodies. And if you are a company that is trying to get the certification, you will be really interested to see that we are working with certification bodies from all over the world. You have INOR, APNO certification, Bureau Veritas, CCSC, DECRA, GMB, DQS, IMQ, Kiwa, LHQA, Quality Austria, RINA, SGS, SQS, TÜV-Nord, TÜV-Rheinland, and TÜV-Süd. And as I said before, and looking at their names, you will see that they are all over the world, having offices in almost each of the countries. And I will kindly invite you also to go to the IRIS portal, because there you will find all the contact details. So UNIFE and the IRIS Management Center is entitled with this monitoring and also contractual side with the certification bodies, because we check and we monitor that they respect the IRIS certification rules, but also the framework agreement, the legal basis that we have built up between UNIFE and the certification bodies, and we monitor it through office audits. The whole IRIS team is performing office audits in order to see that everything is working. And also there is a quarterly performance report that we send to certification bodies, and that we monitor very closely to see that all the rules of certifications are respected, that they are impartial, and there is credibility in the scheme. But it's not only that, we also support them with regular meetings. We have different biannual meetings with all certification bodies. We provide trainings, we provide webinars. We are in close contact and really looking forward to work with all these stakeholders in the new Revision 4. If you go, please, to the next slide, I would like to talk also about our auditors. IRIS certification today has 300 active auditors. From them, 239 are lead auditors and 61 are co-auditors. 32 auditors are working with more than one CV. And the whole pool of auditors speaks more than 30 languages. And you will see it's the same as for the certification bodies. There are auditors almost in every corner of the world. Our plan now, when we are going now to Revision 4, is to train all of them so they can have the knowledge to go smoothly. For Revision 4, we are also planning a new training for new auditors so we can extend our pool. And I would like to say also that the IRIS Management Center is very careful and that is closely monitoring the performance of the auditors through witness auditing. So office audits for CVs and witness audits are tools that we use to ensure the credibility and the transparency of the scheme, and also as a tool of improvements for all stakeholders and for their performance. I would like also to say that my colleague Jessica, she talked, for example, about the quality performance level, and we can say that during calibration audits, IMC is supporting the auditors also in case of goal audits. Just on another note, something that will be almost new in Revision 4 for our auditors and that we learned about during COVID times is the remote auditing that now is going to be extended. But for your information, the part of production will be always audited on site. Next slide, please. I guess there are many companies today joining us for the certification, for this webinar, be it because you are already certified, be it because you are interested in becoming IRIS certified. So today we have more than 2,342 certified companies all over the world. You can see in this map, we are present in 31 countries in Europe, 15 in Asia, 4 in America, 2 in Africa, and 1 in Australia, Oceania. So also again, the certification is present almost everywhere, and we are going to expand it with this new revision. We have also 3,750 active companies in the IRIS portal, which means that we have still a lot of room for development, because these companies that are also active in the portal, it's because they are interested in the certification, they want to get certified, and they are preparing for that. And in addition to that, and linked to what Louise was saying in her presentation, before in revision 3, we could only audit and certify companies that were doing manufacturing, design and development, and maintenance activity. And you have seen that now we can certify the whole supply chain. And we have many other activities like testing, like turnkey, like distributors that can also be certified. And information regarding also revision 4, and that is good for the companies, is that no audits will be done in the last 30 days before the reference date. And this is to ensure that you, the companies, have time to close your potential corrective actions and you don't have any problems to get your certificate. If you go to the next slide, please. And then I would like to end this part of the presentation talking about the whole rail supply industry and the supply chain, because our certification is impacting all of these stakeholders. For equipment manufacturers, the qualification audits can be avoided by trusted certificates or cross-acceptance of audits. And for sure, when you get IRIS certification, there is a competitive advantage. For system integrators, you can improve the quality among production sites and simplify the supply evaluation and approval. And for rail operators, at the end of this supply chain, you can improve the quality across the entire supply chain. You can reduce your internal efforts, and you can rely on a demanding international standards. These are our goals and are covered by revision 4 targets and rules. Thank you very much. And now I will give the floor to Bernard Kaufmann, who will give all the details about the transition phase.
Thank you very much, Maria, and thank you all to all other speakers who have explained now to you all the evolutions, all the changes, all the new features of the global IRIS certification system, on requirements, on rules, on the technology. Now it's time to tell you how this revision 4 will be implemented and how is the schedule or the timeline on that. And that's what I will present you in the next few slides. So the first point, I would really insist on the fact that we will implement revision 4. We will not speak about the transition, which you might know when a standard change where you need 3 years and so on. Regarding the evolution of the standard, the evolutions of the rules, we are absolutely convinced that this implementation can be done without starting from scratch, like what we have done in 2017 when we had the ISO TS and the new rules with the first time the performance assessment. So globally, all the elements remains with evolutions in several aspects, evolutions in the requirements, evolutions for the auditor behavior or management and so on, and a little bit for the companies as well regarding the rules. So therefore, there is for us an absolute point, which is the continuation of the cycle in which you are. And you will see as well that there is in some extent a possibility to adapt it regarding the reference date you have about your audit and the time when you do your audit. So that's the first important message, is the switch will be an implementation within the normal cycle with some specific aspects regarding your reference date. As already mentioned as well by several speakers today, we will allow some preparation time, and we are convinced that, of course, according the setup of your organization, of course, you need to have the time to analyze the evolutions, to see what is the impact, and of course also to take the opportunity maybe to implement improvements within your organization on other topics which may not change, but where you say that's the moment now to get a new step in my organization. Therefore, the transfer of knowledge towards you, the organization, towards the assessors, the auditors, and all stakeholders explained by Maya just before, needs to take progressively into account these aspects in order to have this implementation done in a smooth way. And this preparation time, of course, is to be taken by all organizations regarding its speed of implementation. Also, some decisions have to be taken, as also said by Anish before. There is a decision to be taken by the company on project management. As Louise told you, there will be 3 options of project management to be defined by each company and not changed every time. I mean, it's a model of organization you have in your organization, and this is what you have to fix in in your data in the portal in order that automatically the auditor will have the right way of auditing your project management. The same for those who are willing from the revision 4 on to start with the SME starting package, which is, as explained as well before, a simplified way to enter into the IRIS world. And all these aspects needs to be analyzed by you, and also in order then that this is done in a very smooth way. Next slide, please. So therefore, in terms of implementation process, the revision 4 audits will start from 2024 on. This means that we have split a little bit. The new certification will start from 1st of January on. And for all the existing certifications, the due date will be from 1st of April on. So this means also that according to the starting date, you also have to implement the different aspects. What I just said about the master data, of course, you will not implement this now tomorrow morning, but you will have a message from IMC when all this will be ready to put in place. Don't forget that we are still in a revision 3 way of working, and this system is still pertaining until the start of the revision 4. So in terms of simplified approach, we have defined 2 options. These 2 options, I will come on this in the next slide, are quite easy to separate, but also there is a timely way. So option 1 is to switch to the revision 4 during your next recertification. We have entered since beginning of September in a period of time of, this means in the next 12 months, 85% of the IRIS certificate will enter in a recertification. Due to the fact that we will only start in April, the recertification for revision 4, we will be able to cover around 70 to 75% of those recertifications. This means that a vast majority of the companies of you will do this switch in your next recertification audit. Meaning, and instead of having a revision 3 recertification audit, you will have a revision 4 recertification audit. And given the moment of this next recertification audit, is it in April or is it next year in September? Let's see. This is the time you have to prepare on this evolution of the requirements on the rules. And your auditor will, of course, have then automatically the new way of assessing with all the new KO questions, the new customer perception aspects and so on. All this will be automatically taken into account in the next recertification audit. This means this year, in this case, you will have a surveillance audit revision 3, and from April on, you will then have a recertification with then all the new features and immediately getting the new certificate based on the revision 4 for 3 years. This means this is the ideal way to switch to the new revision 4. Option 2, next slide, please. Option 2 is for all those who had, I would say, to do the revision 4 this year, or will do the revision 4 until end of the year or beginning of next year, because that's the normal way. So for those, you will have to switch during your next surveillance audit in 2024, or maybe for some even only in 2025. And this gives you also the possibility to now smoothly finalize the recertification revision 3, sorry, if it happens in the next few months, or to be cool and say, okay, I had just now my recertification revision 3, now I have almost 1 year to switch to the revision 4, or even in some very special case, even a little bit longer. So therefore, you have to define with your certification body what will be the option if you are on the edge of having the possibility to do both of them. So let's have now a view globally on the timeline. Next slide, please. This is the overall timeline. You see on the top in blue, certification audit starts 1st of January 2024. Revision 4, recertification and or the so-called transition audit during a surveillance audit will start on 1st of April 2024. And consequently, the first surveillance audit revision 4 will then start in January 2025 for those who have started revision 4 in January next year. So that's the global point. In a transition audit, of course, we will give you also all the possibility to have a thorough discussion, preparation with your auditor, and a readiness review will, of course, be mandatory for the switch, in order that the auditor will not discover suddenly in this revision 4 audit a lot of changes, even more than what is planned in the revision 4. And this readiness review, you will help everybody to have as well the smooth transition during the audit. You know that since the beginning, IRIS is always keen on having audits which are well prepared, therefore the readiness review, therefore the data review for the performance, in order that there are no surprises. An audit is a moment where the auditor will have the time to analyze the processes, the performance, the way of working of the organization in your site. And all what is preparation, we are trying to do as much in advance, and so also for the evolution to revision 4. And you see as well on the bottom of this slide in the orange colors how the revision 3 will progressively end. Certification audit will end of this year. Of course, my personal advice is please wait January and switch or start immediately in the revision 4, because starting in the revision 3 now end of the year is technically possible, but I mean by waiting several months you will immediately have a full revision 4 audit, and you saw the evolutions of the requirement is not so tremendous, so it's largely feasible, and you will not be obliged immediately next year to have this transition audit. But it's up to you to decide to do so. For the surveillance audit, they can be done until next year in September in revision 3. And you see, this is this progressive point. Therefore, if you had a revision 3 audit this year in August, you might even say, next year I do still a revision 3 surveillance audit and I only switch in 2025. Therefore, I said, for some of you, you have the possibility to decide next year, I do my transition audit immediately, or I wait a little bit more because the evolution in my organization are coupled with other evolutions and I need a little bit more time. This is the flexibility, but I agree, it's linked to your reference date. For some companies, according the time where is the audit, it will be rather in 2024 this switch. And of course, the recertification audit, as mentioned, is until March. But here as well, let's have a smooth transition, and we also will have to manage some situations. You see also in green, from October on, we will progressively upgrade the knowledge of all our auditors. All the 300 auditors mentioned by Maria will undergo training, a retraining on all what has changed. Much more in detail of what we could propose you to today in 2 hours, but in order that all the auditors have the right understanding, the right knowledge in order to be able to assess the evolutions of your organization in revision 4, and to, of course, I'm absolutely sure, maintain the IRIS certification, maintain your quality level, or even maybe improve the quality level. All this depends on you, on how you are ready to work on that. So therefore, progressively from now on, as Anish mentioned, the rules were published this week. Progressively, you will be able to purchase it, to read it, to understand it, to implement it, and then also progressively all the other aspects will enter into real life. This means the update of your profile in the on the portal, in order that you are getting ready on that element. Of course, it will be recalled by the auditor, the certification body, a few times. Everybody, every stakeholder will progressively be updated on the evolutions in terms of timeline, in terms of aspects. That's the same for all other actions linked to the system. Is it the witness auditors? Is it the office auditors? Are they the veto checker? Are they the administrative people of the certification body, the commercial people of the certification body, who needs to also tell you the right information, how to switch, what is the evolution, what you have to do, and how to enter in the new scheme revision 4 based on this full ISO 22163. So that was my purpose of the implementation timeline. I see that there are quite some questions which were posted on the Menti, and I think now it's up to have the little time to answer some questions for all the speaker, and therefore I hand over to Tanvi for this part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernard, and thank you, everybody, Maria, Jessica, Louisa, Anish, and Stefan, for taking the time out and making your presentations. It was genuinely very interesting. I do have some questions that we've got from the Menti. Thank you so much to the audience for giving us these questions. Please don't forget that there are about 105 questions. We will not be able to answer all of them at the same time. However, we will be using the next few webinars that are coming every month to answer a lot of these questions then. And of course, please don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and on Twitter, either UNIFE or IRIS, so that we can answer a lot of those questions over there as well. We will make sure that your questions are answered. But however, let's start with the first question, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe I can address I can ask Jessica to answer this one. Jessica, the question is, the impact on qualified and optimized maturity levels seems very high. How will it impact the silver or gold levels?
Oh, okay. Interesting question. It's a general concern. Of course, it's a challenge, especially for those organizations with silver or gold results is on the borderline. Those organizations that are solvent and these levels shouldn't have to make great effort to adapt to Red 4. I think they may have to review and update some processes, but it's an evolution and not a revolution, I think.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. I think the next question could be for you, Louisa. It's about your hometown. So the question is, in your example with the guiding function in Berlin and 3 sites, will every site or the guiding function get their own certificate?
Yes, so in my example, it was the fact that every site and the guiding function had their own certificate. I would like to mention that IRIS is still a site-specific certification. There are no metric certifications possible. It's just more flexibility to create your own certification setup. And for the guiding function, you have 2 possibilities. In general, it can be certified on their own if they have an autonomous rail quality management system and if they have at least 2 certification activities. If not, then the guiding function is not certified on their own and they are just linked to the certified sites.
Thank you, Louisa. That was very good. So the next question, I think, Bernard, if I can request you to address it, it's my audit or my IRIS audit is generally in March. So shall I wait for revision 4 or what do you suggest?
Yeah, okay. I expected such kind of question because it's true that every time you implement something new, there are always somebody just before, just after, and then of course it can be difficult. So as mentioned, the first step is to discuss with your certification body how are the availability of the auditors and how, especially also what you want to do. I mean, now, if a company where the audit was generally done in March would like to wait 1 month more and is a little bit blocked by the reference date, these are aspects we will, of course, take into account in the best manner in collaboration with the certification bodies. This means we will be keen on extending maybe a little bit the time for the audit and to shift a little bit this to allow you to switch immediately if you really want to switch directly to revision 4. So all those who are close to the 1st of April date, we will take into account all the questions from the certification body. But please discuss this clearly with the certification bodies, and then the certification body will analyze this directly with the IMC, and especially Maya will manage all these aspects because there are some technical things to implement in order that for you the certification will be done absolutely smoothly. But I confirm that we will take into account some situations which are very close to the switch time in order that it's the best solution for your organization if you are ready to do so.
Thank you, Bernard. I think the next question, Stefan, if you don't mind, I'd like to address it to you. IRIS is based on a full ISO now. How do you ensure as a European organization, the international steering of this standard?
Yeah, Tanvi, thank you for the question. We're already live. Yeah, I'm already live. Okay,
yes,
that's
absolutely.
fine. So thank you for the question. I think we have to differ a little bit in between the ISO standard itself, which is fully steered by the ISO organization. So ISO knows the technical committee and the working groups, and of course with our experts out of the IRQB and the IRIS DECO, we are part of these working groups, but as members of the national committees like the Dean in Germany, or the ISO organization directly. And so this is an international steering where we don't have a direct influence out of UNIFE, and is open to everybody worldwide. Whereas I have to say, and if you remember the slide number 36, the International Rail Quality Board plays an important role here because the rail sector in total, comprising the industry and the operators in an international setup, come here together in a structured way as a consortium form in the National Rail Quality Board and deciding about the strategic implications of IRIS and how to use IRIS better to drive the quality in the rail sector. Like this, the rules were also developed based on an IRQB working group and implemented and incorporated by the IRIS Steering Committee and the IMC and published now recently. Like this, you can see we have an international backing, not only for the ISO part, but also for the rules part, which is very important since we, as you said, we're talking here about the international standard. So answer in short, IRQB. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. The next question I think is a little more technical. Anish, would you like to answer it? The question is, will I be able to use the audit tool web application without internet?
Yes, thank you very much, Tanvi. Indeed, I touched upon that earlier, but it's a very important question, as obviously the web audit tool is on the interweb, on the internet as such. So we officially stipulate in the IRIS Certification Performance Assessment 2023, the rules. We officially stipulate in one of the respective chapters a sentence, and I would like to read that out if I can be blunt. We address and we say the organization shall provide an adequate internet connection to allow the audit team to conduct an efficient audit. Now, if for some special reason or circumstance there is a sudden or a planned break of internet, we have got you covered. If there is a planned unavailability of internet, the IRIS auditor can proactively generate some type of export and then fill it in once the internet is reconnected, and it will further resynchronize. But also if there is a unintentional unavailability of internet, or if there is a sudden loss of internet connection, then there will be an automatic triggering of the second offline process that we have implemented that will also refill in when the internet is connected. So yes, to answer your question, there are two ways that we have foreseen a loss of internet: a planned loss and an unforeseen loss, and we at IRIS Certification have covered both ways. But whilst I'm at it, I've also looked through the 150 or so questions so far, and I just wanted to say a few other points on my topics. Again, what Bernard said earlier is correct. The company master data elements have not been changed right this minute. In the upcoming foreseeable future, the new SME designation, the PM designation, and the new master data will be available, and we will of course inform all stakeholders of this with our IRIS portal news. Another thing that a few of you have asked as well is that can I use the new IRIS audit tool web application for revision 3 audits? So the simple answer is no. So for the IRIS revision 3 audits as stipulated in the implementation phase presented by Bernard, can only be conducted with the Windows audit tool. So the audit tool in a Windows format, the downloadable one, the one that is applicable for revision 3. Now, in the implementation phase, if you have audits, and I'm talking to the certification bodies here, the auditors here, we have thousands of participants. If you are conducting an IRIS revision 4 audit, then you shall use the IRIS web-based audit tool. So just to reiterate, web audit tool for revision 4, new audit tool for new revision, old audit tool for revision 3. One last very important question that I read and did not put in my presentation, and I saw it in the questions, and I assume it's from an organization. They asked, I just wrote it down. They asked, can IRIS auditors see my internal audits? And I want to state something factually and very importantly, they can absolutely not see your internal audits. And we've gone even a bit further. We've put all of the internal audits in the revision 4 on dedicated servers that even we can't access to. So the only people that can access internal audits are the organizations, the people, the users that have conducted the internal audit. So the internal audits are absolutely not connected. They're on a different server. They have no relation to the active connectivity of the IRIS certification system. Thank you very much. I hand it back to Tanvi.
Thanks, Anish. And thank you for answering some of the other questions as well. But however, this does leave us with time for just one more question. And perhaps Maria, if I can ask you this one. Question is, what are the forecasts in terms of IRIS certification development and presence?
Thank you, Tammy. Yes, it's a very good question, in fact. So while we were talking about the stakeholders and the companies, you have seen that we are present in a lot of countries, very present in Europe, Asia, but we are still missing some continents where we can do a lot more. So we are expecting to grow in America, in Africa, maybe also in Australia, Oceania, and even in Europe. Why not? And what it's important here to say is that the new SME way of working will ensure that many other companies will get IRIS certification in an easier way. At least they will enter into the scheme in an easier way. And also the fact that we have enlarged the scope of certification will also make it possible for other companies to enter the certification scheme. So we expect a big enlargement and development of the scheme. Thank you, Tammy.
Thanks, Maria. I think we're going to have to end it now, but we have been very efficient, exactly like the new revision 4, very efficient, and we're finishing it almost exactly on time. But I would like to remind everybody that we have new monthly webinars. The RQB monthly webinars are back. The next one will be on the 13th of October. The first Friday of every month, except for a few. And it'll be at 2 o'clock. Please join us. The next one is November 10th. And the third one will be, and the final one for the year would be December 8th. The topics will be announced very soon. You have sent us a lot of questions, and you've, of course, addressed some of the topics as well that you want us to talk about. We will be bringing those as well. And please don't forget, every single thing that you need, we will put on the IRIS portal, and we will put it on LinkedIn and on Twitter as well. Please just follow us. It would be very useful. We're really looking forward to having more of your questions, more interaction with all of you. And I would like to thank all of the speakers who were here today yet again, and of course Philippe and everybody at UNIFE and Siemens and CAF who joined us. And thank you especially to the audience who came. The response was quite unbelievable, and we're very, very grateful. Thank you.